He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minute!
Attention, citizens of Fair Gotham, and welcome once again to Bat Minute Forever, the show that takes all the pain away. I am one of your hosts, John Parker.
It's all your fault. It's all your fault, John. If you hadn't suggested this podcast, we wouldn't have to do this every goddamn week.
I've ruined your life.
It's still perpetually grieving for this project. It's me, Niall McGowan.
You say that, but you're already going, when we're done with these 4 movies, what are we going to do?
Well, so yeah, I don't know. I'm always like that. I've just been like, well, we have got a whole other movie to do. But I thought, like, what after that one? It's like, well, hopefully the Batman will be coming out sometime soon.
We have ideas, folks. We've got things we're milling over. Got some thoughts, but we won't reveal them. They're secrets. Damn it! Get out of our cave. This is minute 69, dudes.
Hey.
And the minute starts with the return of the Skeletal Mexican Punk Gang, and it ends with some Harvey Cetamol.
That was an abstract way of describing that.
I like the way this is my favorite thing about the show. I think, right, when you introduce it, you explain what's actually happening. When I introduce it, I really don't.
It's like with the Mogwai Minute, like George's intros just got so vague and so out there. Then after a while, it's like, I don't even listen to what he's saying anymore.
I haven't got a bloody clue. But we are back then, yes, as Robin is still attempting to flee from the skeleton gang.
I really like this, though, because we get him, trying to climb up the scaffolding and whatnot. Oh, we haven't explained why the guest isn't here. That's one thing.
We should probably.
We're talking about that off.
Should we maybe stitch this in earlier?
I don't think it's okay. I think it's people should just know Robin was not the Robin on screen. Robin Garcia, our guest from the previous minute, had a load of technical difficulties, and unfortunately, we did actually record an episode. But the audio is just jacked. There's just no way to salvage it.
And whatever happened with their tech problems impacted all the backups as well. So they were blank.
Yeah, yeah. It's just one of those things. Like we've encountered audio problems before, but like we always kept adding on backups. And it just goes to show you, like, no, it can happen. Just you don't know what's going to happen with these things. Like it's just literally, we had 4 different things running to get that episode. And none of them have worked. So this is a re-record of anyone's. This is a re-record before like the original episode was recorded 10 weeks ago before the world ended, and now
in the meantime, society has collapsed.
Like it feels like we've recorded that episode about 5 years ago, but it was only like 10 weeks back.
And don't worry, everybody, we had a great time with Robin. So Robin will be back next season. They have to be, right?
Oh, of course, yeah, because Robin remembered from doing the edit there. They've apparently were writing a spec script for a musical version of Batman and Robin. So it's like, we can't not have them back because we need to get our hands on that script whenever it becomes relevant. So
yeah, and they were wonderful guests. So it's sad they're not here, but we're gonna do our best, baby. OG style.
Yeah. This is it was like the first 40 minutes of. No, it wasn't the first 40 minutes of.
It was like 20.
Batman. Yeah, it felt like it was a long time, but it probably wasn't that. It was before, like, we're still in, like, Jack Napier territory, so I was like, that's still pretty early in the movie.
And then our first ever guest was Ricky Wiley.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. There's Ricky, Dan Campling, I think, Gaz,
yeah.
And I think Dale, then. I think she was, like, quite early on, too. But
that was like 3 years ago. What the...
Yeah. But anyway.
So Robin's fleeing from the skeletons.
Yeah.
And I adore this shot that we're starting the minute with, because you can see Batman lurking in the top right of the frame. And I don't think I've ever really noticed because I'm paying too much attention to the neon skeletons.
Well, that's the thing I actually really like is appropriate enough us just reminiscing about like the first season in the 89 movie. this actually does strike me as like, oh, it's a nice bit of like, look at how much time has passed. Where first time we saw Batman in that first movie, remember it was like the two crooks, like who were just boring normal crooks, like Nick and Eddie sitting doing the whole like, oh, I hear the bat got him and all that stuff. And in the background we saw Batman descending in silhouette, and then he appeared from behind them and stuff. And just considering, oh, way back then, yeah, two drab, ordinary bum crooks. Batman kind of coming down, similar sort of silhouette behind them. And then all these years later, like, they didn't even believe in Batman back then. They was all like, oh, the Bat, come on, give me a break. Now this Batman, he's there, similar kind of setup, similar silhouette up in the top corner there. But look at how crazier the crooks have gotten in Gotham, like how much more elaborate and flamboyant they've gotten.
And their reaction to him.
Yeah, because they get a whiff of him. They're like, it's Batman, run, for Christ's sake!
They know who this guy is.
He's
real.
Yeah, this is like, oh, this guy ain't no urban legend anymore. Like, he's there to, kick ass and chew bubblegum. Of course, Batman doesn't chew bubblegum, so he's just there to kick ass.
But, Batman hasn't got a date at the moment. He's all out of ass.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think Joel Schumacher was trying to do a deliberate callback to that, but it did remind me a little bit of like, oh, people just looking up and seeing Batman's been behind them the whole goddamn time. It's like, it is a little bit of like, oh, how the times have changed.
And how do you sort of view his descent, right? Because he swoops down after the gang here, and it's very obviously a wire shot, obviously. So I'm kind of torn, right? Because I can tell he's on a wire, but I absolutely love it. I don't care that it's far too controlled. It looks great.
I think it's not even so much a problem with it. Like, I'm fine with like, yeah, that's just how Batman does. But it is like, yeah, it is a wire shot. But again, in '89, he was doing stuff like this. But they would show you that it was a wire. He'd have the little grapple, and you'd see
like that, though. That's quite funny.
Yeah. But it's just like, them showing you, like, this is how he does it. He has a little thing in his belt, and you'll see him clasp it on and off and stuff. But this one just seems like there's no indication that he's on the wire. Like, they're expecting you to believe that he's gliding down. But then that's believable in, like, the Chris Nolan movies when it's like a big, it's a glider-like cape. But this cape's fluttering all over the place. So it's like, I don't think this is physically possible for him to do this.
And it's not big enough a building to glide from, really, is it? That's not that high. Like, you might survive falling off that, for instance. You might not, but you might. It's like touch and go. Maybe like, well, I guess if Robin Garcia, of course, of Toy Story Minute was here, they might say, it's not flying, it's falling with style. Yeah, falling with style. I mean, it would have been perfect to have Robin on again. Yeah. Let me tell you, folks, that episode that you're never going to get here. Best episode ever. We think we were almost going to give up the show after that. We're just like, we're never going to beat that. That was like Krusty coming out of that one episode of Itchy and Scratchy. Like, wow! They'll never let us show that again. Not in a million years. Here's one thing, though, John. Like, I thought maybe if you might have identified this more, but like that, there's one of the bits of graffiti as Batman standing up there, seemingly doing like a little Superman pose with the hands on the hips. It looks like that's a flag of some sort from England, right? Like it's like a dragon breathing fire. It looks like, is it just the English flag or the St. George's flag or? Wait, when he's standing on the rooftop? Yeah, there's a little thing like the graffiti beneath him. It looks like a dragon breathing flames. It looks like the Welsh flag. Oh, Welsh flag. There you go. Yeah, because the Welsh flag is the dragon, which is basically the coolest flag ever. And sorry, Wales, but you're not the coolest. Come on. Why have you got such a cool flag? I'm really disappointed this gang's not Welsh now, though. The Welsh gang. It's like everything. It's Batman. Why run, lad? That was more Geordie. I know. I was just like, I don't even know if do I know any? I know people who are Welsh, but they sound like friggin' Polly Preston, who was on last season. She's Welsh. She didn't sound Welsh though. She sounds intensely English. But if you say to her, "Oh, you sound English," she will take great offense to that. Most Welsh people I know are very, very, very Welsh, so it's a bit different. I just like, I just can't. I don't think I've ever. Just do a Fireman Sam impression. I was like, oh no, it's all on fire. That's quite good. See, it's like halfway to doing an Indian accent. Oh god.
Joel Schumacher missing a trick here. Like, could have had a Welsh bat. Like, oh no, it's Batman. He's here.
It's Batman boyo. I always say boyo.
I keep wanting to say YI, and I know that that's not even vaguely Welsh at all.
You'll be annoying Neil.
But yeah, of course, you have Batman fluttering down here to the bottom, and again, his reputation has really preceded him here, because look how many of these of this gang there is. They don't think they can take him. They're all like, no, we need to leave right now, because I guess maybe he's fought them in the past. Like they all know, oh, he can kick the crap out of us. Like,
yeah, the Bat's gonna have you.
Yeah. Dick runs over. He's not afraid of Batman, apparently. No. He's gonna go over and give him what for? That's a whole attempt to batter him here. I don't think he even really thinks he's going to do any damage to Batman.
No, it's just frustration, isn't it?
Yeah.
And is he annoyed? This is the only thing. Is he annoyed that Batman didn't come to save his family in general? Or is he, aware that Bruce was there and, in his view, chose not to act?
Oh, I think he knows that Bruce was there.
I know he knows he was there, but is he angry that he thinks that he didn't do anything?
I think it's just that, Bruce is kind of like, Batman's explaining. As one thing I really like in the minute was when Batman reacts to what Dick is saying, he says, like, if Bruce Wayne could have saved your parents' life, he would have. Which is, like, again, within the film's themes of dual identities and whatnot, the fact that he's not saying, if I could have saved your parents, I would have. He's saying, Bruce Wayne was there that night. If Bruce Wayne could have saved your parents, he would have. Yeah. But that's not me. That's a different personality who dwells within me.
I like that, though. The separation is always interesting to me.
Yeah. But I think, Dick's whole thing is that Two-Face said, if you just come out and say, if Batman is here, if he just comes out and lays himself down, then, yeah, this will all stop. And the fact that Dick knows Bruce Wayne was there, and he doesn't know that Bruce did try to do that, it just didn't work out. So I think his frustration is just that, like, he believes that he just maliciously didn't give himself up, instead of just like, hey, I tried, but it just
he
didn't happen.
Try. We know that, but
yeah.
Dick didn't see it from that perspective. He didn't have cameras on Bruce.
But the thing is, this does seem to be a direct reference to one of the comics. The would-be Robin coming over and beating Batman's arms out of frustration. But not with Dick Grayson. It happens with Jason Todd, who we've alluded to Jason Todd throughout the season, and just saying that, like, oh, Jason Todd there's a lot more of him in this Dick than there is of just, like, pure Dick.
Oh yeah, pure Dick.
Because people don't know, it's like Jason Todd was like the rebellious second Robin. He's the one that they killed, basically. But he was the one who was like, oh, he drank and he smoked and he deliberately disobeyed orders. Batman discovered him stealing the wheels off the Batmobile, and this Dick Grayson, he steals the Batmobile. Like, they're going for the same sort of edgy, he's a little punk kind of version of him.
Totally. That's the whole vibe they're going for with him in general, isn't it? He's the rebel.
Rebel.
What are you rebelling against? What do you got?
Yeah. A little brief overview of Jason Todd. That he was introduced in March '83, invented by a guy called Jerry Conway, who also co-created The Punisher, and he was the guy who wrote the death of Gwen Stacy, like that big, famous friggin' character death in comics is Gwen Stacy getting killed. So it's kind of weirdly appropriate that the guy who invented the second Robin, who is most famous for getting killed by the arch nemesis of the hero, was also responsible for writing, the death of Spider-Man's first girlfriend, where it was one of the biggest deaths in comics. And she was also killed by the arch nemesis of the main hero and stuff. So I guess that's that guy's input, is like, just kill people. That's what the audiences want to see. They just want to see death. That's what co-creating The Punisher is like, what if we had Batman, but he killed people? Wouldn't that be something? But yeah, so in '83, he invents a version of Jason Todd that's just Dick Grayson 2.0. His parents are also acrobats. They're killed by Killer Croc, weirdly enough.
Oh, different.
And then he's taken in by Bruce Wayne. The big difference is that he has blonde hair, and he dyes it black once he becomes Robin. And it's just that's the thing.
I quite like the idea of a blonde Robin, a bleached blonde Robin.
That's one of those things too. Is like, I guess his feeling is like, oh, Robin has to look the same. Because I guess the implication is that the Commissioner Gordon and all the crooks and stuff, they think that, oh, it's the same kid every time. Which is like, I can buy that with Batman, but like, if you see a different Robin show up, you're going to be like, that's a different child.
You can tell, yeah, the disguise isn't that good. Whereas Batman, it's like, well, you can't really see his face.
Yeah. You can have other people in the cowl and kind of get away with like, oh, that's not the same guy, or or people thinking that it is the same guy, but there's no way you can have a freaking like Bruce Wayne has 3 identical wards and stuff.
An army of wards.
But of course, then you have Crisis on Infinite Earths occurs, and this is where everything is completely retconned. So Jason Todd gets a new origin story invented by a guy called Max Allan Collins. And within this version of Jason Todd, who is still the standard version of Jason Todd, his mother was a heroin addict, and his father was an ex-medical student who worked for and was murdered by Two-Face.
Oh.
So that's where that's coming from. And there's an issue then, well, Batman takes him in because he thinks, like, if this kid is just left to his own devices, he will become part of the criminal element. So in order to step in and kind of guide him, much like Bruce is doing in this movie with Dick, he's like, well, I'll take this kid in. And, eventually then he makes him Robin. And there's an issue then, Batman 411 from September 1987, also by Max Allan Collins, called Second Chance.
He loves Robin.
Yeah. Jason Todd is messing around on the old Bat computer, looks in Two-Face's file, and discovers that, like, oh, Bruce is well aware that, like, Two-Face killed his dad. Like, it's supposed to be a secret. Like, Jason Todd didn't know, like, oh, my father is just dead. I don't know what happened to him. And then he finds out that, like, no, Batman knew that Two-Face killed your father and stuff. He just never told you. And so, yeah, the beginning of that issue is pretty much exactly this scene. Like, Jason Todd running over and starts beating up Batman, and Batman just holds up his arms and kind of, like, lets him get out all the rage. And yeah, that whole sort of bit about, like, a version of Robin becoming obsessed with taking on and taking down Two-Face. That's all Jason Todd. That has nothing to do with Dick Grayson. But that's what they're lifting from the comics for this storyline.
Is it just because more casual fans know Dick Grayson?
I think so. It'd be very much like... I think like the other day someone was saying on like the listeners' cave about like, oh, who would you cast nowadays as a Dick Grayson? And like I was thinking in my head, like, because they, people always, you go for young actors now. You suggest, oh, those kids from It, and they'd be like, oh, so whatever one of those boys, they could all play Dick Grayson, really.
Basically, yeah.
The thing is, you could do that. The girl who plays Beverly, Sophia Lillis, she'd be a great Carrie Kelly. Like if you just took that character from Dark Knight Returns, put her in a movie now. Then I'd be like, this is Robin. And you don't have to have it be in continuity to The Dark Knight Returns. Just be like, this is our version of Robin. And it's a girl called Carrie Kelly, it's a reference to that particular story arc. But they might be like, nah, I can't do that because everybody knows Dick Grayson. Dick Grayson is Robin. And if you come in with like, yeah, Jason Todd, or something like that, they'll be like, who the hell's that? Like, maybe not so much nowadays, because you do get into like, we're in an era of like, people know who like the Guardians of the Galaxy are and stuff now, whereas back in 1995 people might not have even been aware that there was more than one Robin. Like they mightn't even have been aware that there was a Batwoman. Like
I think at this point, because I come to this from the movie perspective, I didn't know there were different Robins when this came out, and did I even know that there was a Batgirl?
Yeah,
I don't know. Actually, I don't know if I did.
Because at this point in like in the comics in 95, there's like 3 Robins. So if you're a fan of like the books, you might have picked up on the fact that like, oh, this is all Jason Todd stuff they're doing here. But the general public's like, I guess this is like an edgy version of Dick Grayson. Whereas it's actually just like, no, they're still adapting stuff from established material. It's just with a different character.
That makes sense, I think, because then it's appealing to all fans. It's appealing to the hardcore fans and people who only know Robin from the old show.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just like I'll even put up like the panels when this airs because it is very similarly even framed, just the way. Although Kilmer's Batman's kind of keeping his cool a little bit more. Like the Batman in the comics got a real kind of like, what the hell, kid? Like he looks a bit agitated by the fact that Jason's trying to beat him up. Whereas
I don't like that. I like this because the whole thing is like Batman's expression, he knows that this kid just needs to get this out of his system. He's not going to hold it against him. He doesn't even fend him off. He just kind of held his arms up. Letting him do this is actually going to help.
I think this Batman, too, has nothing to be defensive about either. Because he's coming down, he's like genuinely just like letting him vent the rage. And it's just like, I know you need to do this. I've been there myself. Whereas in that comic line, it's like, oh yeah, I was hiding the fact that I know who killed your dad and stuff.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah.
That is really bad. I assume he was hiding it because he didn't want him to get revenge.
Yeah.
So it's like a similar thing, but I don't know. You probably should tell him at least so he can come to terms with stuff.
Yeah, it's a comic book Batman's a real asshole a lot of the time.
I understand his approach. He thinks he's going to lose the plot and try and go out and die getting revenge and whatnot. And that could happen. But sometimes you have to let people make their own decisions and give them the information.
Yeah, well,
I think he needs to know.
A man's got to go his own way, John.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about that later in the movie. I will say, though, behind Dick, as he is delivering this savage beating to Batman's upper arms, or lower arms, upper, lower, that depends what angle you look at, I guess. But behind him on the wall, there's a bit of graffiti. Reminded me of, you call them the Blue Meanies from Yellow Submarine.
Oh, okay. When someone says Blue Meanie, I think of the wrestler from ECW, the Blue Meanie.
Ah. Was he in any way based on Blue Meanies from Yellow Submarine?
As far as I can recall, no. Not in the slightest.
Oh.
Except for the name, obviously.
Although saying that, this thing also, because it looks a little bit like a dog. Blue Meanies had a dog, so I guess that's like a four-headed dog. But it also, like, because he's got like vampire kind of sharp teeth, which reminds me of, like, that's one of the ad campaigns for the What We Do in the Shadows TV show is them all in black light, so it also just looks like that as well.
Yeah.
Joel Schumacher, he's just like, I know in 25 years' time, there's going to be a pretty funny vampire comedy on TV, and I want to get in on top of that. So
we mentioned it before, but when he says, if Bruce Wayne could have given his life for your family, he would have. He's being serious. Like, I think he would trade his life for theirs.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
He doesn't care. He's not a man. He's just a machine.
Yeah. Oh, that's definitely 100%. He would have, like, we saw him. He did try to give himself up. So
yeah,
I guess maybe because this Batman's keeping so many emotions buried deep inside. Like, as far as we know, he's got like real intense guilt about Dick Grayson's parents dying.
I think he does. Yeah.
He just doesn't let on because like everything's just hidden behind not only the mask of Batman but the mask of Bruce Wayne. So you don't know how many deaths he's regretting in there. He's just like, yeah, every single one of them was my fault.
He probably feels that way.
Yeah.
Anytime somebody dies when he's trying to stop it, he'll feel personally responsible, even though he's not.
Yeah.
That's the vibe I get from him. And I do like the schizophrenic thing as well, the two different people thing coming up again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that kind of thing that works really, really well. I'm just going to hit the mental image, though, of like Bruce in the Batcave saying, I blame myself for every death, Alfred. Every person who died I might watch. And just like, even Alexander Knox, sir. No, that's not my fault.
Screw that guy.
Like, I can't even remember what happened to that guy. But whatever it wasn't on me.
Alexander who? What?
We can only assume Knox is dead. I know he was alive at the end of the movie, but he ain't shown up since. So
my whole headcanon in real life, if I don't see a human being in a while, I assume they've probably died. And then I see them again. I'm like, oh, hello. You didn't die. Okay.
I also thought that weird one of like finding out someone who you don't particularly even care about has died, but then feeling a little bit sad about it. Because today they announced that the guy who played Ted in Scrubs, which is a show I didn't even really like, but I remember that guy. And I was like, oh, I always enjoyed him. I find out like he died today, and I was like, oh. And this morning, I was like, I'm genuinely a bit sad about that. I really like that guy. Haven't thought of him in about 15 years, but for some reason I was genuinely saddened by his death. Poor. That was the weird thing, though, because then they were like, yes, died at 56. Like, he's only 56? He looked about 67 in the show.
Yeah, I don't want to be nasty, but he definitely looked old.
But then, of course, we cut back into the Batcave, where Dick Grayson is now venting his thoughts. And as you start becoming very aware of just how dangerous the lack of railings in this Batcave are.
Yeah, they could fly down that chasm a slight trip and you're going down.
Yeah. Like, he's walking slowly. I like to think it's because Chris O'Donnell's like, well, I'm taking my time because they keep telling me to meet the eye line over here. But, like, I'm fighting the urge to look down to see where my footing is. Because I'm literally standing over a giant chasm. Like, this.
It is absolutely terrifying.
There's no need for it. There's never been any need for the no railings in the Batcave, except as Bruce been like, what do I, Batman, need with railings? Like, will you still have that armored chest plate, sir? Like, well, I'm getting rid of that too, Alfred. I don't care what happens to me anymore.
Well, he doesn't care. Yeah, he's got this amazing cape that can help him glide. He's got a grappling hook. He's like, if he falls, he's fine.
Maybe when he was jumping down earlier, it wasn't because, like, oh, he knew how to glide. He's like, I'm secretly hoping that I just fall and die now. So just trouble. And he got to the bottom. He's like, oh, god damn it, I made it again.
Not again.
It's like, won't anything take me out? Maybe this kid fighting me will like, all right, I'll put up my dukes. Oh, he can't barely even friggin' punch me. God damn it.
It's not worth it.
He was really hoping to go like, oh, go in the suicide mission. This gang's definitely going to take me out. And then they all ran away.
That's Batman's whole thing. He's trying to find the right person to kill him. The worthy opponent.
That's why he was deliberately getting Alfred to serve him uncooked soup. And then find out like it's
poisons.
Yeah, it's like, oh, hopefully this will be the thing that kills me. He's like, well, it's supposed to be cold. So like, god damn it, Alfred.
Oh, we also get an explanation that I feel is completely unnecessary, right? Because, you know, I think this is in there for the kids. He says, Dick, when I was out there tonight, I imagined it was him that I was fighting, even when I was fighting you. Yeah, I got that.
Yeah.
I didn't need the explanation. I mean, granted, this movie is aimed towards a younger audience. Maybe kids do need that little push to understanding plot.
Mm.
Like, why is he hitting Batman?
Yeah, I don't mind it so much though, because it kind of it is re-emphasizing a point that you're right, we all get by like but just the fact that like when Bruce was saying earlier like, oh, you go out looking for a different face, but it's never enough and stuff. It's like, well, I guess Batman was out fighting villains. He was always imagining the face of Jack Napier when he was venting his frustrations and whatnot.
Yeah.
But then this movie, it's all like, you don't see Napier's face, and there's a whole thing like, we'll get to it all, of course, later. But the Red Book and who was Bruce Wayne really venting his anger upon and stuff. Well, it's even him saying like, even when I was fighting you, it was like, hey, wasn't much of a fight, kid. Like,
I could have kicked your butt whenever I wanted.
That was the real thing too. Like behind this little corner that goes into, they send Alfred like, there was no fight. Like, if I wanted to fight him, that kid would be back in that alleyway looking for his goddamn teeth. Like,
it's true. Because what fighting experience does this kid have? Nothing. This is Batman.
Well, he is good with a mop though. So
True. I mean, he's got some moves, but this is the Bat.
Yeah. It would have been great though if like he started getting out his old like kung fu laundry routine on Bruce, and like instead of beating up his arms, like he whips off his socks and starts like beating him up. It genuinely takes Batman by surprise so much. He's like, holy crap, I didn't see this coming. He genuinely has him down on the floor. He's like, stop waving your pants at me.
or do it more.
But yeah, one other thing I would add is that, well, we had a whole thing there, like, oh, Dick beating up Batman just out in the street. In the novelization, and I think the original script, he does it in the car, and the Batmobile crashes, which is like, well, I think we covered last week that Chris O'Donnell himself insisted upon driving that Batmobile and did crash it. So maybe they're like, let's not even try the stunt with him, because God knows how many of these goddamn cars we're going to have to get through with this asshole.
Exactly, yeah.
So maybe they're just standing on the street when he does it instead of just like baiting the friggin', feeding the bear here. But yeah, there's a whole big thing where like Batman's trying to drive off, and then Dick starts beating him up while he's driving, and Batman swerves, crashes into a friggin' wall. I guess at that point I'd be like, the people of Gotham must be so PTSD'd when they see this Batmobile. Like, it'd just be like, it's crashing into walls again! Like it friggin' was on a rampage last movie.
Yeah, whenever you see it, something bad is going to happen.
This is like Jim Gordon, like, getting them on the signals. Like, it's no emergency, Batman, but like, we've all had a talk, and like, you gotta give up the car, because people see it, and they're absolutely wreck every time because you don't know what that thing. Apparently, you just leave it lying open with a big button to press go. Anyone can steal it. The next thing that's gonna happen, some goddamn teenage kid's gonna just swipe it on you, and he'll put down the fin and he'll make it look stupid. And like, you're gonna ruin your reputation throughout the whole city here. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for 69. So
I've got one other thing, which is that the Goldsman draft, it plays out a bit differently in that as well. Because Dick doesn't get into this fight. Batman picks him up and takes him home, and then they have a different interaction.
I'm just getting a mental image, though, of like Val Kilmer literally taking Chris O'Donnell by the scruff of the neck and actively lifting him off the floor. And him doing that whole like swinging his arms and legs and like, no, you let me down, man.
That'd be amazing. Somebody draw that, please, and post it in the group. But yeah, Bruce says, "You don't understand. It's an addiction. You fight night after night, trying to fill the emptiness. But the pain's back in the morning, and somewhere along the way, it stops being a choice. I want better for you." And Dick comes back with, "Save the sermons about how great you want my life to be, okay, Bruce? If it weren't for Batman, my parents wouldn't be dead. You don't get it, do you? This is all your fault." I like that little interaction because it makes him an even more little bratty jerk.
That's one of the things, though, like you were saying, though, with the whole, like, oh, even when I was fighting you, that interaction is just like, yeah, we know. Like, you've got this across already. Like, you don't need to emphasize the point even more. But I guess that's what they always teach you, like, when you're writing essays and stuff in university, though. It's just like, put in as much as you can, emphasize everything over and over again, and then in your second draft, it's all about taking out the things that you've already said.
Yeah, I've discovered that doing my uni work, right? I don't have trouble hitting the word count. I can go way over the word count. The trouble is in keeping to the word count.
Yeah.
It's a real challenge because I'll look at it and it's like, oh, I've written 1,000 words too much. Crap.
Well, that was the thing that we were always advised. Is like, just get everything out and then, refine it. So just go back through. And I know now from doing friggin' proofreading work that so many times I've had to say to them, like, you're just making the same point over and over and over again throughout. Like, this paragraph is virtually identical to the paragraph in front of it.
Well,
so
there's
just
two
take all that out.
approaches. I do that approach. Some people do it the other way. But no, I do that approach. I overwrite and then edit back. Some say that wastes time and stresses you out after the fact kind of thing. But I don't know. I find I operate better that way. If I write too much, then I can make it fit what I want.
Yeah. I guess that's almost like what they did with this movie. They filmed 40 minutes extra, and then they took out the wrong 40 minutes when they were trying to refine everything.
It was the wrong button they pressed. No!
Even saying that, though, it's like, well, what scenes would I take out from Batman Forever? If I had a choice of, like, well, what would I get rid of? It's like, well, what's superfluous? Like, Kung Fu Laundry? It's like, you can't lose Kung Fu Laundry. Like,
No.
Well, you like? I think it pains me to say, no offense to Nicole Kidman, probably most of I would have really trimmed down those Chase Meridian interactions, but then you lose a lot of Horn Dog Chase Meridian that way. It's like, oh.
It's weird. It's a long movie anyway, but maybe it does need to be longer.
I would say all that stuff kept in. Particularly when I was a kid, I would have been happy with 2 hour, 40-minute version of Batman. Yeah, going right ahead. But yeah, I guess back then probably because there's not much Two-Face you can trim. You'd be like, oh, you could take out a lot of the Edward Nygma stuff, but then it's like, well, we paid for Jim Carrey. He's the star. He's the guy everyone's here to see. You can't take out any of him. So it's like, what do you take out? There's nothing. Maybe now I'm beginning to sympathize with the people who had to do the editing, because it's like, I guess they were just they had their head over a barrel. It's like, they were told we need to get rid of stuff.
What that reminds me of? The Phantom Menace, because you must have seen that famous clip of George Lucas when they show the movie for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, I think maybe we went too far in a few places.
Yeah. I think that's weird as Gaz always brings that up to me. That's one of his favorite quotes or something.
And it's like, well, we can't take any of that stuff out at the end.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to have a think about this. Like, what could you get rid of? And I guess maybe I'd get rid of maybe that battleship thing at the end where oh, you sunk my battleship and all that. That's kind of goofy. Doesn't need to be there.
You can only make small trims to the movie, though. Taking out whole big plot points I think you do need it all in there.
Yeah. It's kind of, you find out now, like, oh, Batman Forever is as finely tuned and as lean a machine as you can possibly get.
Yeah, weirdly. And you bringing up Jim Carrey there, before we do depart, as of recording, right, have you seen that supposed leaked footage of Space Jam 2?
I did, actually, yeah. I saw...
Well, the mask is in it.
Yeah, that's right. Do you think it's actually him?
I don't know. I could see him going back to it. I genuinely think he might do it. And the cast that you saw in that leaked clip, like, not cast, the characters, sorry. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm on board for an even wackier Space Jam.
That was the thing, though, because I do not care for Space Jam. But seeing that little bit of that leaked ending, I was like, they seem like they're having a really good time. I kind of want to see this now, because they look like they had a blast making it, at least. And that's from, like, handheld footage of blurry stuff in the background and stuff.
Well, if Jim is in it, I think we should cover it.
Oh, yeah. 100%. I will say, actually, in the past week or so, that's the thing, like, I figured, like, I better watch this because, like, we're covering a movie that features Jim Carrey. And we've talked, a lot about, like, oh, Sonic's, like, his comeback and stuff. Mm. But Jim Carrey's been back a while on TV. Like, he's been a presence. Because of this show he's doing on Showtime, Kidding, which was
I've seen that.
Oh, that was the thing. Like, I remember at the time, there was a bit of a buzz towards it coming out. And then it didn't seem to... There wasn't much chat about it afterwards. So I kind of assumed, like, well, maybe it's not that good. But it's Jim Carrey... is executive produced by and sometimes directed by Michel Gondry. So it's like, it's the team behind Eternal Sunshine. They're back. And I've watched it now, and it's really, really good. Like, it's one of those things of like, why isn't everybody talking about this? Why isn't this like one of the biggest shows on TV? Because the whole pitch is that Jim Carrey is like a children's TV host, and he has been for like 30 years. He's a little
Perfect
bit
for Jim.
Yeah. He's a little bit Pee-wee, but he's mostly Mr. Rogers. Like, he's Mr. Rogers, but with loads of crazy puppets, like Pee-wee would have.
And I could see Truman being a fan of Mr. Rogers, if that was ever shown to him.
Oh, 100%, yeah. And that's the thing, is like, because he's known everywhere as a Fred Rogers type, and everyone's like, oh yeah, Mr. Pickles, they call him. Everyone really, really loves him. He has to keep up this persona. And it's become his entire life that he's just really pleasant, and everybody's just so friendly and so happy.
Oh, but
so
does
calm.
he snap?
And the thing is, when you come into the show, one of his sons has died from a car wreck, and he's trying to like, I want to go to the audience and explain death to the children and stuff like this. And his dad, played by Frank Langella, Skeletor from '87's Masters Universe, I was so excited when I saw him. So I was like, oh, I am sold on this show. Frank Langella's playing his dad. He's like, no, we can't go off the brand and stuff like that. And he's also going through like a divorce, and there's very strained family relations and whatnot. And he's just really like, okay. And you can just see, because it adds the fact that because it's Jim Carrey, and you know how crazy Jim Carrey can get. He just seems to be forever on the verge of breaking. And the whole first season is like you're just waiting for him to go. And he starts having little hallucinations. He starts doing little bits and bobs that are like, he's so calm all the time, and all of a sudden he'll randomly just like break a lamp or something like that. And he doesn't know how to process the anger and stuff. It all really comes to a head. Like by the end of that first season, like leading up to the final episode, I was like, holy crap, this is so freaking good.
Sold.
And it does that weird thing where like, I think I saw a review from The Guardian. I'm assuming they only reviewed the first episode because they gave it 2 out of 5. And they're saying it's so schmaltzy and stuff. And if you watch it, it's one of the most dark shows you could see on TV, but it's really surreally dark. So there's a lot of overplayed smalts, but it's always counteracted by something really warped and dark going on. And you're never too sure how sincere the smaltiness is. It's just very, very strange. And yeah, I was, after watching it, I'm just like, I should have been watching this week to week when it was airing. This is fantastic. But
we could always cover some of that on Patreon as well if people are interested.
Oh, 100%, yeah. If there's anyone out there who is watching Kidding, I think it's 2 whole seasons now, and both of them are just really, really good. And just very, it just has that thing where like, most of it's quite realistic, and then they'll just do something completely off base where you're like, what is this a dream, or is it what is this world they're living in and stuff? And it just has little things like he's so beloved that like one episode opens with he leaves his car out in the street, and a bunch of criminals come along, steal the car, and they go to strip it. So they go in and take off the tires, take out the windows, completely mine it for everything that's inside. And then they find one of his puppets, and they're like, "Oh, that's the Mr. Ukulele puppet. Holy, this is Mr. Pickles' car." And because they were all raised on Mr. Pickles, they all just put the car back together and go and just leave it in front of his house. And then he comes out, and it's just nothing happened and stuff.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
There's just loads of little things like that where, like, just, drug addicts and stuff are completely coming around because they see him on TV and stuff. And they're like, what a wholesome, nice man. And then I'll cut to the actual show, and you'll see how, like, close to complete nervous breakdown he is and stuff. But yeah, so that's one kind of sat on for a while. But yeah, Jim Carrey has been back in the social hive for quite a while, on a great show, and people should be watching it.
Well, thanks for the tip. I will be.
Yeah, I know too. I said even earlier today. I know your partner, Lowell, big fan of Catherine Keener. John, Catherine Keener plays Jim Carrey's sister in it. So.
Oh well, she'll be sold on that. I mean, she probably would be anyway, just from the description, but even more.
That's the thing, is that the show has something for everybody. Because it's got I was like, oh, Jim Carrey, okay. Frank Langella, oh my God. And then his ex-wife is played by Judy Greer, who was, Kitty from Arrested Development.
Yeah, I like her.
And the thing is, the whole recurring joke about Arrested Development was she got a boob job, and she keeps like, well, Michael, say goodbye to these, and ripping open her shirt and showing her boobs over and over, but you never saw them in the show. She gets her boobs out in this show every other episode. And you're like, is this part of the joke? Because it's Judy Greer herself is saying, well, say goodbye to these. You're like, there is no need for you to have your top off in this scene, Judy.
She just wants to prove she still got it because they keep giving her these sort of mumsy roles lately.
I think that might be the case, though, because it is very much she is a mum in it. She's like a worn down kind of nurse and stuff. But then, when she's sexually active, it is all very oh no, she's still got it where it counts and stuff. She's got tattoos and stuff, and you're like, oh yeah, she, older women, they've still got all, as much life of them as anyone else. So
they got it where it counts, buddy.
Yeah.
Had to. But on that note, we will depart. We'll head off into the dark night. We haven't got a guest to plug anything. Do you have anything you want to plug that's not Bat Minute?
I mean, kidding. I guess go watch that show.
And you were just on a show the other day, weren't you? The Tron one.
Yeah. I think have I done any other guest appearances? I was on Chronologically Speaking with Duncan Shields. That was actually really good fun. I actually had a really good time recording that. I know I'm trying to think if there's any other stuff. I did record. Oh yeah, last week I did. They won't be out for a while yet, but I did record with Tierney and Jarf, who Tierney's been on this season. Jarf's upcoming for Joe versus the Volcano Minute. Had a good time there. Of course, upcoming guests as well. I was on Speakeasy Hour Minutes with frequent guests, Audra and Indra. And of course, Neil Brown was on with me as well. We were talking about Vibes, the Cyndi Lauper, Jeff Goldblum movie where they play psychics. And it's got 5% in Rotten Tomatoes, and it is really, really good. So
you were telling me it sounds amazing. I really want to watch it.
So I advise people also go and watch Vibes as well if you get the chance.
I was also on Speakeasy versus the 80s. Me and Lol were with them to talk about Troll 2.
Oh, classic.
I think me and Lol are the only people who liked it. They all hated it.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have thought that would have been
but it was
really...
like a funny hate.
Oh, I would have thought that would have been really up their alley. That
no,
really
they were jokingly angry at us for making them watch it.
Oh, wow. I just would have thought, how can you not enjoy Troll 2? It's so laughably bad.
I know, when they actually started talking about it, they were like, well, actually, I really like this bit. I'm like, see? You do like it. Oh, well, go listen to that, everybody. And then, the usual Bat Minute stuff. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TeePublic, come buy a shirt, Patreon. We're gonna start doing a few more Patreon things now that my university's finished for a few months. We're gonna trickle out a few more of them, and I'm gonna do some random extra things for me Hedvig one as well, because Lol is the only guest I'm gonna have on that, and we live together, so it literally takes 10 minutes, and I don't edit it.
Is Lol aware that she's gonna be a frequent guest?
Yeah,
she's in the house. She ain't getting away from it. So.
She's not getting away from it. No. She will do that. And it's great because basically we're on the one mic, so I don't edit it. So it takes me like no time at all.
Oh, that's really handy. That'd be great though if you were just
and
like,
it gives people extra stuff.
It's like you would just show, like, put on something for lol, and then like afterwards just like sneak a microphone over to her face, like, so what do you think of that? Huh? It's like, I told you I'm not going to be on this show.
So check that out. You're getting all extra stuff, basically. That's what we're trying to tell you. You're getting extra stuff from left and right and center, and more stuff that you can probably listen to. So check it all out, and join us again on Monday for more Bat Minute Forever. Next time, a Bat and Brat tete-a-tete. Our tired Templar alters his attire while Dick discusses becoming his squire. But while Robin ruminates about revenge and rage, can his aspirations be extinguished by a more distinguished sage? Find out next week. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.
Ba-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.